Excellent customer service is very important.
Customers want to feel that you respect them, that you are there for them.
Just making sure the customer is satisfied.
I like the fact that I can communicate personally, not just over the phone.
At the end of the day, they know that they have that one person they can actually call on.
You want to treat that person how you would want to be treated.
We work 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. I try to make every experience a wow experience for the customer.
The Prime Minister insists he's focused when it comes to the fight against crime. The F&M chairman slams the PLP chairman's curfew suggestion as an act of desperation. The PM now directly overseeing NHI implementation. Employees at the Department of Environmental Health upset over unfavorable working conditions. Plus, get ready for the Caribbean Music Festival. We've got those stories and more coming up tonight. I'm Dana Smith, and NB12 starts right now. Helping news tonight, faced with a 25% increase in murders, Prime Minister Perry Christie has insisted that he is focused on addressing crime. Though he repeatedly criticized the Ingram administration for its handling of the country's crime problem while he was in opposition, Christie says he understands that he will have to defend his own record on crime. Vonnie Toot reports.
Acknowledging that the Bahamas is faced with what he called an extraordinary development regarding murders, Prime Minister Perry Christie says he will have to answer to voters on what he has done and hasn't done to tackle the country's crime problem.
I'm thinking that the challenges we have in this country that we have to admit, particularly with respect to this sort of extraordinary development on the part of young behemoths killing each other. It is so profoundly important for us to get our hands wrapped around it and to be able to be seen to come up with strategies that will address significantly and make inroads, not just address, but make inroads and make progress and being able to slow what is happening down.
Since the Progressive Liberal Party took office on May 7, 2012, 422 murders have been recorded in the Bahamas. 110 people have been murdered in the country so far this year. That's a 25% increase when compared to the number of murders recorded this time last year. However, Christie says finding a way to stop the bloodshed will be a top priority going forward.
I think that's where it has to be. That is my focus going forward, and most certainly I'm going to have to be able to defend what I've done or what I've not done. And I understand that too.
While in opposition back in 2012, Christie said when it comes to crime, the Ingram administration has been a miserable failure. He insisted the PLP had the answers and the will to address crime. 3 years into the PLP government's term, though, there has been no appreciable decrease in crime. Party Chairman Bradley Roberts charged on Tuesday that violent crime is at an unacceptable level and said government should give serious consideration to implementing a curfew in crime hotspots. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonnie Toot.
Employees at the Department of Environmental Health are speaking out after being forced to work in what they have described as deplorable conditions. Kyle Joaquin has that story.
You have mold growing on the ceiling, on the ground, spreading to officers. We already made this known to management numerous occasions, but nothing has been done yet, and they still want us to come to work in this kind of condition.
Mold, broken windows, desks, and chairs have all contributed to terrible working conditions that vector control employees claim they have to endure on a daily basis. These employees say they've made request after request to have the air conditioning and bathrooms in their offices fixed. But after years of waiting, they've gotten tired. Mario Ambrister, who transferred from Andros, said since his move to Nassau, he's seen conditions go from bad to worse.
We do things, we come to work, we work at above and beyond level. But the conditions we have to work in, because inside our, what's supposed to be our office, we have no desks, no chairs. The windows are broken out, no screens missing, No air conditioning. Air conditioning was broken for at least 3 years now.
But notice as you take a stroll around this building is there is a serious lack of seating, and the chairs that are available look something like these ones over here.
This is supposed to be our downstairs kitchen. I mean, you come and look at it. Take a picture if you want to, please.
To use the restroom, workers claim they have to travel up a staircase, which isn't in the best condition. But it's not just the building that's in poor condition, they say.
Our vehicles were down for I don't know how much time, for countless problems as tires, batteries, spark plugs, fan belts. They have no air conditioning, no operators for the windows. They smoke in the seats of the metal coming through them. You go on the road, some don't have no horns, the horns hardly work. And these trucks be off the road for months on end.
Ambrister says what's most upsetting is that in vector control, they're usually the ones taking measures to protect the public from the outbreak of diseases like malaria and dengue fever. But now that they need help, it's as if there is none.
No proper equipment to deal with these hazardous chemicals. And they still won't they won't cut the little hazardous we get and still want us working in these hazardous environments without no proper equipment to protect ourselves. And we carry these stuff home to our families.
We caught up with Assistant Director at the Department of Environmental Health, Andrew Thompson, who said management is aware of the problem and he understands their cry. However, he insisted the solution for the issue now lies with the Ministry of Works.
Sought a number of times to address through the Ministry of Works, and hopefully it will soon be resolved, but it's not that we have not done anything. We have taken, like I said, a number of steps. Myself, then the director followed up what I did with a letter, and so that is where we are. So hopefully something should happen for us soon. And so I understand the concerns of the officers, and but we it's not that we have not heard them. It's not that we have not tried.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
F&M Chairman Michael Pintard today slammed PLP Chairman Bradley Roberts' call for a national curfew as a red herring and an act of desperation. Pintard said it seems to him that Roberts suggested the idea without having any real knowledge of how it would work. Pintard said the government needs to act with a sense of urgency when it comes to crime rather than a sense of desperation.
So I see it as a red herring. I see it as Mr. Roberts having driven one day, heard somebody call for curfew on the radio, and in a knee-jerk reaction and an act of desperation, he is throwing out what he is hearing others mouth without having any sense of how that can be implemented.
Charging that violent crime is at an unacceptable level, the PLP chairman said government should give serious consideration to implementing a curfew in crime hotspots. Dismissing the idea as a knee-jerk reaction, Pintard said the idea seems poorly thought out and lacking in specifics. He asked, with murders happening at all hours, when exactly would such a curfew be in effect?
It's not an idea with any specifics. In other words, he did not indicate what time of day the curfew would be implemented. And since we are having homicides in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, and late at night, is the PLP suggesting that we should have curfew all day? Because they ought to be very specific about what their intentions are.
Pintard said the F&M has recommended to government a litany of ideas to mitigate crime, but their suggestions have only been met with silence. He said it's clear this administration has no idea how to fight crime.
All of us are at risk, and the reputation of the jurisdiction is at risk. So there has to be a sense of urgency, and what I hear from the PLP is desperation, which is different than a sense of urgency.
Prime Minister Christie has revealed he will now chair the National Health Insurance Task Force for coordination purposes and to ensure the right steps are taken ahead of NHI implementation in January 2016. Earlier this month, Health Minister Dr. Perry Gomez admitted that the proposed NHI plan is behind schedule, but insisted government will meet its phased implementation goal. Well, Christie told NB12 recently he has appointed Peter DeVoe Isaacs as the permanent secretary with exclusive responsibility for NHI, moving that responsibility away from the Ministry of Health and the National Insurance Board.
They are all participants, but we have a new permanent secretary task force with me in the chair, with, in fact, the Minister for Grand Bahama, the Minister of Health, the Minister responsible for National Insurance, and Minister Bernard. They comprise, and the Attorney General. So, and I chair that, and the idea of that is to really ensure that the steps are ordered, and from a philosophical point of view, as Prime Minister, that we work aggressively to reach some kind of understanding with the private sector, the insurance industry.
We asked Christie if the changes were made to ensure government meets its phase implementation goal in less than 4 months.
The first phase really exists as a question of marshalling it. You know, we are now renovating clinics. We want to extend their hours. They're being extended now. All with a view, we're populating the islands with doctors so they can have doctors. All of this is rolling out the first phase. So the idea is right now that we have a lot of physical improvements to do to the hospital plant, both here and Grand Bahama and throughout the islands. We have to get medical evacuation in place for people. All of these things have to happen towards ensuring that we're pointing the right. Sometime in next year, we will then be able to focus on rolling out the other elements of the plan.
Stay with us. There's more news after the break.